All right. Hello, everybody. We are going to do a live question and answer session. I didn't advertise it earlier, so didn't give anybody a heads up, but I'm at MLK Library and they have such good equipment here. I wanted to try it out, see how it works, and we can go from there to decide how often we can do a live question and answer, how often you'll have questions. So, I have some questions that were given to me or sent to me on Instagram. So I'm going to start with those. And then if you pop in and you have questions either live or on the replay, then just be sure to put those questions in the comments and I will come and answer them. But if it's private or personal, you need to schedule an individual consultation because you don't want to put anything that's too private or personal on the internet. Okay, so let's get to it with question number 1. I'm gonna put the questions in the comments. So if you're watching along, you'll be able to see the question that I'm answering. So the first question is, how much is it to get a work permit based on a child petitioning for you? Okay, so this question was sent to me on Instagram. Now, it's pretty complicated though, because you can't just get a work permit because your child is petitioning for you. There's different steps involved. So the first step is going to be the actual I-130 petition to establish the child-parent relationship and to establish the child is a citizen and they're at least 21 years old. After that petition is the application for residency. It's adjustment of status if you're in the United States. If you're not in the United States, then it's consular processing. There are some complications that can happen here. If you're in the United States without permission, or you're in the United States and you arrived without a visa or parole, then there's going to be another step that is required. So in that situation, you'll need to consult with an immigration attorney to do that for you. I don't recommend doing that on your own. I would not tell you to hire an attorney just for the sake of hiring an attorney, but this is a complicated process that you really need an attorney for. You shouldn't do it on your own. So you do a consult for that. So to answer your question, there is no just pay for a work permit because your child's petitioning for you. That's just not an option. If you're doing adjustment of status, if you make it to that part, that's where you can apply for a work permit. But just based on the petition alone, there is no option for a work permit. Okay? I know that was complicated because that situation is a complicated situation. You definitely want to schedule a private consultation. And you don't have to call the office to schedule a consultation unless you want an in-person appointment. You can schedule a consultation using the Calendly link, which is in the description. So if you go to the description, you'll see a link and you just pick whatever appointment day works for you. It'll be a telephonic consultation. Okay. And here is the second question. I got this question a lot. How can AP help people with DACA? Okay. So advanced parole is AP. And DACA is deferred action against childhood arrivals, people who arrived in the United States as children without lawful status, and now they are adults. And this program allows them to obtain work permits and to legally remain in the United States, but it does not lead to residency. So the way that advanced parole can help people with DACA is if you initially came into the United States without permission, when you come back on advanced parole, now you have a lawful entry. Okay, and if you have a lawful entry, that allows you to adjust status if you have another pathway to residency. So if you married a U.S. citizen or a resident and you initially were not able to do adjustment of status because you did not have a lawful entry into the U.S., well, now you have a lawful entry. Okay, and so long as you meet all the other requirements, you'll be able to adjust status. That is how AP can help people with DACA and also people with TPS. If you're here on TPS and you do not have a lawful entry, then you want to use it against parole as well, so that you can have a lawful entry and be prepared for if an opportunity does come up that allows you to obtain residency. Okay. All right, this next question, I arrived on F1 and now I am married to a US citizen. Can I adjust status? Okay. Yes. You have a lawful entry. You're married to a US citizen. You can go ahead and apply to adjust status. Now, if you were a J1, you would need to check your paperwork first to make sure there's no home requirement, okay? If there was a home requirement, that means that you have to go back to your home country for whatever time period is specified, 1 year, 2 years, it's usually 2 years, before you can apply for apply for a non-immigrant visa, apply for residency. There is an option to seek a waiver of that home requirement. You do have to seek the waiver before you can file for residency. So if that's your situation, definitely look at your paperwork, see if that's a requirement. If it's not, you can also go ahead and file. If it is your situation, then you can look into a waiver, or you can look into having your spouse return to your home country with you for some period of time while you wait out that waiting period. Okay. All right. I was a victim of robbery. Can I apply for a U visa? I made a video about this, and so this is why I'm getting this question a lot. If you want more information on the U visa process, definitely visit my other videos. It'll give you more information. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, all right, just have to check something on my settings. Okay, so a U visa is a process by which a person can obtain residency if they are a victim of crime in the United States. However, it's only certain crimes that qualify for a U visa, and robbery is not one of them. So here is what you want to do. You want to take the police report and you want to read it to see if any other crimes are described in the police report. If it describes that you were falsely imprisoned, that you were assaulted, that there was an attempted manslaughter, if it describes any of the other crimes that are enumerated for U visa eligibility, then you can argue that you meet U visa requirements that way. You'll just have to remember that the police have their discretion, the prosecutors have their discretion on whether or not they want to sign it. So you'll have to cooperate with the police and prosecutors, or else they will refuse to sign off on it. Okay. And if you don't have the police report, it is a public record. You can get access to it. You can either request it online, or you can go to the police department and do a written records request to get a copy of the police report. It is a public record. Don't be afraid of going to ask for it. Nothing's going to happen to you just because you go and ask for the police report. Okay. And if you're reading it and it doesn't look like it's describing any other crime, then just, at least have another person or an attorney look at it, because of course there could be something that you're missing. So you just want to be sure. Don't just sit and say, okay, there's no possibilities for me. You just want to be sure. Okay. And I think I have one last question, or is that it? Did I cover them all? Oh, the last question is asking about the criteria. What are the criteria for national interest waiver? Okay, so a national interest waiver is a self-petition for employment. So usually when you're doing an employment style visa, you have to have an employer that's filing that petition for you. A national interest waiver is where you're self-petitioning. You're asking for yourself to be given an employment style visa without an employer filing that petition for you. And so, yes, there are certain criteria that you have to meet to be eligible for that. And I'm going to try. I'm going to see if there's an option for me to like screen share to give you the criteria. I am still learning StreamYard, so don't be upset with me. Learning curve. Okay, I don't want that. Screen layout, press shift 6. Sim layout, press so layout. Okay, so it looks like I'm not gonna be able to figure out how to screen share with you on this. But if you go in the top of my videos here on YouTube, just go to videos and go to most recent. There is one video that has me listing the criteria for the national interest waiver, and then I have someone's actual resume behind me or their list of criteria behind me and kind of evaluate their criteria along with listing the requirements, so you can get an idea of what's required there. But I also wanted to show you. Oh, there it is. I found it. Share screen. All right. So this is the USCIS page, which lists the criteria for a national interest waiver. And is there a way for me to make it bigger? I am really pushing myself here. Okay, so I made it bigger, but now how does that show up on StreamYard? Does it show up that I made it bigger? It does, okay, cool beans. So you see here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 criteria, and then the 7th is a catch-all, okay? So the first criteria is that you have to have an official academic record or have a degree, okay? Having a bachelor's is great, having a master's is better, okay? The second criteria is letters from employers evidencing 10 years of full-time work experience. With those letters, you're going to also want to turn in their resume or their CV showing what their experience is while they're writing on, yours. The third one is a license to practice the profession or certification for that profession. So if you belong to, or you're licensed as an accountant, you're licensed as an attorney, you're licensed as an engineer in your country, then you turn that in as well. Evidence of salary that demonstrates your ability so that you command a higher salary. That doesn't have to be a high salary by US standards. That can be a high salary based on the area that you're living in and working in. And you can submit evidence to show what the typical salary is in that area versus what your salary was. Membership in professional organizations, that's going to include national, local, state, and student organizations. So if you're a member of the Student Society of Engineers, the Black Law Students Association, or accountants across the world, those are professional associations that count for this membership criteria, but you want to try and do more than just be a member. So if you attend a conference, if you've spoken at a conference, if you made a presentation, you also want to show evidence of that. And then the last one is recognition for your achievements or significant contributions to your industry by your field, by your peers, government entities, professional services organizations. So if you have a patent, if you reorganized a business, if you contributed to the development of some procedure, anything that makes you stand out in your field or be recognized, you can turn in for that. And then the last one is a catch-all, is why I said 6 criteria instead of 7. But number 7 is comparable evidence is also acceptable. So if there's something that makes you stand out in your career field, but it's not enumerated here, then you want to show that. Also, here you'll want to emphasize if you have combinations of certain things but don't quite meet it. So if you have, for example, 9 years of experience in your occupation, but you don't meet the 10-year thing, you still want to show that 9 years. And then we could make an argument that even though you don't have the 10 years, that you overall meet the criteria that's required for this section. And then after you meet these criteria, then you also have to make an argument, which is right here, see where it says factors USCIS considers for national interest waiver. You have to make an argument that the proposed endeavor has both substantial merit and national importance, and that you are well positioned to advance the proposed endeavor. And on the balance, meaning having you versus not having you, then it's beneficial to the United States to have you. And waive the requirement of having a job offer prepared and give you that national interest waiver. So here you can argue things like there's a shortage of your particular job title in the US economy, that it's going to have a detrimental effect on the US economy by not filling these roles, that it's going to have a detrimental effect on the climate, on agriculture, whatever the particular area is. Okay, so now let's see if I can learn how to stop screen sharing. I did that a lot easier than screen sharing. Okay, all right, so those are the questions that I got in my Instagram this week. Feel free to send me additional simple questions. Remember, if it's private, personal, complicated, you will want to schedule an individual consultation. My consultations are free for 15 minutes for the first consultation, and you'll find the link below in the Calendly. Please like and subscribe for more. Thanks so much for your time. Have a great day.